What's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 289. We're going to cover Mark chapters 8 and 9. So we pick back up again with the feeding of the 4,000. It says, in those days, when there was again a large crowd that had nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples and said to them, I feel compassion for the people because they have remained with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. So this is the second feeding miracle. We covered this in Matthew chapter 15. But something I didn't cover last time, if you notice the number of 4,000 in verse 9, Matthew 15 said that this didn't include women and children. So just like when we calculated the nation of Israel to be 2 to 3 million on a conservative level, this could very well be upwards of 12, 16 or even 20,000 people. If you just include a spouse and one child, you're talking 12,000. 2 children, 16,000, and 3, obviously 20. And so I just want you to get a scale of how large the crowds were that were following Jesus. When you get a report of all of these miracles taking place and all of these healings taking place, the crowd gathers, but they disperse rather quickly, as we've seen as we've worked through the Gospels. So just like we talked about last time, the turning hinge of the Gospel is Peter's confession. And we got that in Matthew 16 in the Gospel of Matthew, but we get it here in Mark 8, verse 31. It says, and he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he was stating the matter plainly. Notice that statement, he was stating the matter plainly. This further argues the point of the purpose of parables. Parables are not to give clarity, they are to remove clarity. Because look at what it says now. He's starting to speak to his disciples plainly now. And this is where Peter rebukes him, and Jesus rebukes Peter back and tells him to get behind me, Satan. You are not setting your mind on God's interests, but man. In verse 34, it says, and he summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and for the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? For what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. And this is a beautiful summation of what it means to follow Christ, the cost of discipleship, which is at its core humility, which exhibits itself in self-denial. We close out here today in chapter 9 with, again, the transfiguration, when Jesus unveils some of his glory, which is obviously still just a manifestation of it, because we know that no man can see God and live. So every inside scoop that Jesus gives of his glorified state is still just a manifestation, just a piece of that glory. And this chapter ends with the demon-possessed son who is delivered. Jesus continues to talk about his death. Remember, he sets his face toward Jerusalem, and now he's moving toward the cross. And as you can tell, the immediate nature of Mark, we're already headed in that direction. And as you read today, you'll close out with a warning about hell. And I'll close us out by reading that. Whoever calls one of these little ones who believe to stumble, it would be better for him if with a heavy millstone hung around his neck, he had been cast into the sea. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life crippled than having your 2 hands and go into hell. If your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life lame than having your 2 feet to be cast into hell. If your eye causes you to stumble, throw it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with 1 eye than having 2 eyes and to be cast into hell, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes unsalty, with what will you make it salty again? Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another. And that's the closing of Mark 9. Some of the takeaways for you to remember are the cost of discipleship and the beautiful statement made by the Father of the Son, who says, Lord, I believe, help me with my unbelief. And that's my prayer for you, that as you take up your cross daily and follow him, on those days that you stumble, you don't gloss over it in pride. You continue to operate off of the Sermon on the Mount and operate in poverty of spirit and humility. And you tell the Lord, I will continue to follow you. I will continue to take up my cross daily and follow you and deny myself. But Lord, in my struggles, please know that I believe. Help me with my unbelief. And I promise you, the Lord will not turn away that kind of heart. You guys take care and have a good day.